Imagine this. Our world is more technologically advanced than ever before, right? We have instant access to everything.
Literally everything.
Yeah. But somehow our inner security and our happiness have completely fallen off a cliff. Why is it that the more tech we get, the more our mental health just utterly collapses?
It's a massive paradox. And the answer actually lies in a manual for the mind that was written 2.5 millennia ago.
Which brings us to our mission for today's deep dive. We are unpacking a text that is going to completely shatter how you view your own brain.
We were looking at the Dhammapada, Verses on the Way. Specifically, a 2004 translation by a Harvard Sanskrit scholar named Glenn Wallace.
And the immediate question is, why would a modern Harvard scholar living in the tech era spend his time retranslating a 2,500-year-old Buddhist text?
Because, honestly, it is the most acute, precise, psychological toolkit for surviving our modern mental crisis. He translated 423 ancient verses that the Buddha shared after coming out of a really long period of silence.
And I want to be super clear with you listening right now. This is not a religious lecture. We aren't asking you to burn incense or, wear robes.
Right, not at all.
We are treating this as a brutal, highly practical survival guide. Because this text points out a really uncomfortable truth. You think you are rationally controlling your life, right?
We all like to think that.
But this text argues that actually 90% of your daily decisions are just blind, unconscious stress responses.
Yeah, the diagnosis it gives is it's unapologetic. Let's look at the exact quote. It says, "Trembling and quivering is the mind, difficult to guard and hard to restrain."
Trembling and quivering. I mean, ouch. That feels like a direct attack on my inability to focus on one thing for more than 5 minutes.
But it's not a moral judgment. That is the beautiful part. Wallace points out that the text is just stating an objective biological baseline.
Like it's not saying you're broken.
Exactly. It's saying your mind is literally built to be this hypersensitive, vibrating antenna.
Because, from an evolutionary standpoint, that kept us alive, right?
100%. Hundreds of thousands of years ago, if your mind wasn't easily distracted by a snapping twig, a predator would just eat you. The trembling mind was the mind that survived to pass on its genes.
But the hardware hasn't changed. We are just running that exact same prehistoric software in an era of 24-hour news and social media notifications.
And that is why we are experiencing this exponential explosion of mental exhaustion. The environment changed entirely, but your brain's alarm system is still set to maximum sensitivity.
So every time you get a vague email from your boss, your 200,000-year-old brain reacts like a tiger is jumping out of the bushes.
Right. And this is crucial. Modern consumerism and digital algorithms are perfectly engineered to exploit this exact physical weakness.
Oh, wow. Yeah, they know exactly how to hack us.
They absolutely do. The people designing these platforms know your mind is difficult to guard. They manufacture fake urgency so they can basically harvest your attention.
You think you're making a free-willed choice to buy something or scroll for another hour, but you are really just a data lab rat reacting to stimuli.
It is a systemic hijacking of your cognitive architecture.
That is just, it's terrifying. So if our baseline is this trembling, unguarded mess, what do? We can't just throw away our phones and look in the woods.
No, we have to actively intervene. And the Dhammapada gives us this incredible physical metaphor for how to do that.
Okay, let's unpack this. The second half of that verse says, "The person of wisdom sets it straight, as a fletcher does an arrow."
A fletcher is an arrow maker. And what's fascinating here is how active that job is. You don't just find perfectly straight wood in nature.
Wood naturally wants to warp and twist, just like my mind wants to wander to a million different tabs.
Precisely. And a fletcher doesn't just wish the arrow straight. They don't meditate at the wood. They apply intense, localized heat and physical pressure.
So it's manual labor. It's not this passive, just let it flow wellness advice we always hear today.
Not at all. It flies in the face of modern self-care that says you just need to relax. This is saying that gaining focus is an aggressive act of calibration.
But what does that tension look like in real life? How do I apply heat to my brain on a Tuesday afternoon?
The heat is the friction of catching yourself in the act of reacting. It's that 1-second pause.
So, when I want to snap at someone, but I force myself to stop.
Yes. That pause is excruciating. It feels so unnatural because you are physically bending the neural pathways against their default setting.
It's resistance training for the brain.
And we actually have modern empirical data backing this up now. Wallace's academic perspective highlights that this kind of focused cognitive calibration actually physically rewires the brain.
Wait, really? Like neuroplasticity?
Exactly. You can literally shrink the abnormal activity in your amygdala, your anxiety center, just through this daily habit of pausing and resetting the mind. No drugs required.
That is wild. You can literally change the physical shape of your anxiety, but there's a massive trap here that we fall into constantly.
The outsourcing trap.
Yes. Because modern people, we love finding a guru. We want an app, a life coach, an influencer to do this work for us. But the text reveals a really harsh paradox about that.
The paradox is that external dependence is cognitive poison. Let's look at another verse. It explicitly says, you must exhort yourself. You must examine yourself.
And it keeps repeating yourself over and over.
Because any reliance on an outside force to save you leads to a stunted mind. Think about it. The Fletcher has to use their own hands to bend the wood.
If I hire someone else to bend the wood, I haven't learned how to make an arrow.
Right. And the moment that external support is gone, the app subscription ends, the mentor fails you, your mind immediately warps back to its chaotic baseline.
But the more gurus you follow, the deeper your anxiety actually gets, because you realize you don't have the tools yourself. You're completely dependent.
You are. And that dependence makes you incredibly vulnerable to the social weather around you.
Yeah.
Which brings us to perhaps the most counterintuitive concept in the entire book.
Oh, this part completely wrecked me. It's about how we handle the opinions of others. The quote is, "As a rock of single solid mass cannot be moved by the wind, so are the skilled unshaken by praise and blame."
We all intuitively get why we should ignore blame, right? Haters are bad for our mental health.
Yeah, we have a million books on how to ignore criticism, but this text says praise is exactly the same thing. Praise is just wind.
This is a devastating structural critique of how we build our identities.
Yeah.
Why is the barrage of praise you get or crave actually toxic to your mental health?
Because, and tell me if I have the physics of this right, if I let a compliment lift me up, I am structurally admitting that I am light enough to be blown around.
That is exactly the mechanics of it. If you are light enough to be moved by the warm breeze of a compliment, it is physically guaranteed that the harsh gale of an insult will completely destroy you.
That is such a face slap of a realization. We spend our whole lives trying to get likes and promotions. We build entire careers on chasing applause.
But you are essentially handing the remote control of your nervous system to a crowd of strangers. It's a completely unstable equilibrium.
If you outsource your joy to their praise, you auto-subscribe to their blame. You can't just pick one.
Right, a solid rock doesn't care if the wind is a summer breeze or a hurricane. It remains completely unmovable.
But wait, if I don't care about praise or blame, how do I actually get better at anything? Won't I just become an arrogant jerk who ignores all feedback?
The text has a brilliant answer for this, and it completely flips how we view our critics. Instead of ignoring the person who points out your flaws, you are supposed to reframe them entirely.
The text says, regard the person who sees your faults as a revealer of treasures.
Just let that sink in for a second.
A revealer of treasures. I mean, usually when someone publicly points out my mistake, I want to sink into the floor, or I want to fight them.
Because your ego is treating the criticism as an attack. But if you are a solid rock, the emotional tone of their criticism, the wind doesn't move you.
So I can just look at the actual data they're giving me.
Exactly. The guy embarrassing you in a meeting by pointing out a flaw in your project, he is literally handing you the map to cognitive upgrades. He is showing you exactly where your blind spots are.
It reminds me of watching game tape in sports. A coach who just tells you how great you are is useless. The coach who pauses the tape and says, look at your terrible footwork right here. That guy is making you a champion.
He's the revealer of treasures. The text promises that if you associate with people who speak reprovingly, who hold you to a high standard, things will get better, not worse.
Which totally shifts how we should view our social circles, because right now we have these social networks where we have 10,000 followers, right?
Massive network.
But we feel completely empty and lonely. Why? Because it's a useless network of people just blowing wind at us. It's totally superficial.
It's a low-quality energy exchange. The text advocates for a high-signal, low-noise network. Keep company with the wise who will challenge you.
That leads perfectly into this whole concept of what we actually cling to. Because it's not just people's opinions that we obsess over. We grasp at absolutely everything.
Oh, human attachment is the core engine of our suffering. The text goes deep into the consequences of this.
It says that the more we desire things, the more we climb the ladder and attach ourselves to outcomes, the more we suffer.
It's an inverse relationship. The things you desperately try to hold on to are the exact things destroying your freedom.
Give me a tangible example of that. Because society tells us that ambition and acquiring things is the whole point of life.
Let's talk about anger. Anger is the ultimate form of toxic attachment. When someone cuts you off in traffic, why do you get angry?
Because I expect them to drive perfectly and they didn't.
Right. You are attached to a reality that doesn't exist. And when you let that anger take over, you are basically voluntarily lobotomizing yourself.
Oh, wow. Lobotomizing yourself.
Literally. Anger floods your brain with cortisol. It completely occupies your mental bandwidth. You lose your rational decision-making ability in a split second.
So getting mad is just you allowing someone else to completely hijack your brain's processing power.
It is a massive self-inflicted cognitive downgrade.
Okay, that is a huge wake-up call. But the Dhammapada doesn't just stop at driving habits or daily annoyances. It scales this up to the biggest, heaviest realities of human existence.
It tackles the absolute certainties, aging, and death.
Which we spend trillions of dollars trying to pretend don't exist. We have entire industries built on anti-aging serums and life extension biohacking.
Because we are terrified. But the text points out that anxiety doesn't come from the fact that we die.
Wait, what?
It's true. The anxiety comes from our resistance to the fact that we die. Anxiety lives in the gap between the objective reality of nature and our desperate wish for things to be different.
So because we refuse to accept the irreversible rule of the universe, our minds are in a constant state of panic. We are burning all this energy fighting gravity.
Yes. And the ancient wisdom here says that staring directly at death, accepting that it is 100% certain, is the only way to actually achieve absolute mental stability.
Because once you stop fighting the inevitable, all that mental bandwidth you were using for denial comes rushing back to you. You are free.
You are finally living in the present moment, which is another huge pillar of this text, the power of the immediate, undivided present.
Right. Because multitasking is such a lie, isn't it? We pride ourselves on doing 10 things at once.
But you aren't actually doing 10 things. You're just rapidly task switching, which fractures your attention and creates massive cognitive static.
The secret to high performance isn't doing more. It's violently subtracting attention away from everything except the current physical moment.
The text says that every single moment of intense singular focus actually reconstructs your neural pathways. You are literally building a fortress in your brain.
And this leads to what I think is the most beautiful, liberating promise in the entire translation. Let's read the verse about what happens when you actually master this.
Please do.
Those whose minds are well trained in the factors of full awakening, who delight, without clinging, in the renunciation of grasping. Such bright ones, impulses destroyed, are, in this very world, unbound.
Unbound. It's such a powerful word. It means the ropes have been cut.
But the part that hits me hardest is, in this very world.
Why does that stand out to you so much?
Because it's not promising some magical afterlife. It's not saying, suffer now and you'll be happy when you're dead. It's saying you can achieve absolute freedom right now, today, at your desk, in the middle of a chaotic world.
It completely transcends our obsessive binary view of success and failure. We have this idea that we either win and we're happy, or we lose and we're devastated.
But people who pursue that kind of perfectionism always end up self-destructing, don't they?
Always, because they are playing a game they cannot control. The freedom described here is three-dimensional. You are operating in the world, doing your job, living your life, but you aren't emotionally tethered to the outcome.
You aren't grasping. You can enjoy a great cup of coffee or a huge promotion without making it the foundation of your existence.
Exactly. Wall's professor highlights 4 core control modules at play here. Clear self-awareness, healthy interpersonal dynamics, sharp present-moment focus, and letting go of worldly attachments.
I read that this specific framework is quietly becoming the ultimate secret weapon for top performers on Wall Street and in Silicon Valley.
Oh, absolutely. Because the highest levels of modern competition aren't about who has the most information anymore.
Yeah.
We all have the same data.
Right. You can literally ask an AI to give you the data in 2 seconds.
Exactly. So what is the human edge?
Yeah.
As we move deeper into the age of artificial intelligence, algorithms will always beat us in raw logic and speed.
So our knowledge base is no longer our moat.
No. The final, irreplaceable human advantage, our ultimate moat, is that instantaneous, unshakable cognitive stillness. The ability to pause, reset the mind to zero, and operate without being hijacked by fear or anger.
Because an AI doesn't have a biological nervous system to regulate. We do. The person who can actually control their internal environment is going to be untouchable.
And if we don't master this, the macro consequences are terrifying. Look at the geopolitical and historical context.
Yeah, let's zoom out for a second. Slide this up to the civilization level.
Whenever an empire or a society's elite class collectively falls into this trap of endless grasping, validation-seeking, and reactionary anger, the entire system inevitably collapses.
So this epidemic of social media anxiety, this constant hysterical public outrage we see every day, it might not just be a phase.
It could very well be the psychological symptom of a civilization entering a massive decline. We are losing our collective mind because we have lost the ability to sit still and calibrate.
That is deeply sobering, which means this 2,500-year-old manual isn't just about feeling a little less stressed at work. It's literally about whether or not we survive the technology we've built.
It is the ultimate existential test. We are standing at the craziest technological crossroads in human history, armed with brains that still think every loud noise is a predator.
So for everyone listening, how do we practically start this today? What is the immediate action step? Because the text gives us a surprisingly simple physical routine.
It really just comes down to micro habits of calibration. You wake up, you do a brief, honest self-examination.
You check your own weather, essentially.
Right. And then, as you move through your day, you use your breathing to anchor you to the physical present. But the most critical step, the real magic trick, is the 3-second pause.
When someone praises you or when someone insults you.
When the stimulus hits,
Yeah.
you consciously, physically insert a 3-second gap before you respond. You sever the automatic reflex.
It's so counterintuitive. Doing absolutely nothing for 3 seconds is the hardest, most productive thing you can do. It's how you straighten the arrow.
It is how you reclaim your autonomy from the machine.
Man, we have covered so much ground today. From the realization that our quivering minds are basically lab rats for algorithms, to the truth that praise is toxic, to the power of using our critics as treasure maps.
And the absolute necessity of being your own internal guard.
But the work starts right now. Right as this deep dive ends, you have to be the Fletcher. You have to bend the wood yourself.
And to leave everyone with a final thought to mull over, remember that the Buddha only delivered these profound truths after a deeply extended period of total silence.
Right.
Today, we constantly try to fix our chaotic, anxious minds by consuming more. More podcasts, more tips, more noise.
We want a loud solution to a loud problem.
But what if the only way to actually hear these ancient verses and to finally become that solid, unmovable rock is to first force yourself into a space of absolute terrifying silence?
Think about that the next time you reach for your phone. Catch you on the next deep dive.